all of you risk takers and truth seekers to Podcast Live, the battlefield. Today we're going to explore another lesson which all you need to learn, because world it's very uncertain. We live in very uncertain times where the news actually hammering us left, right and center, causing a lot of implication to our life. Personally, my one, when I open in the morning, my mobile phone, I see only negativity. It's actually causing me more trauma than anything else. And I want to talk today about trauma, how we are dealing with the trauma on a daily basis. And my guest today in studio actually is 2 hours ahead of me. He's in New Zealand. My friend Anthony Dahya is with me in the studio from New Zealand. Anthony, welcome to Podcast Live, the Battlefield.
Thank you, Mario. It's great to be here.
And Anthony, look, I know that, it's a Monday. It's for you, it's almost half day there. So it's a morning in Sydney. First of all, I'd like to say thank you for accepting my invitation to be on the podcast. And it's very important for everybody who's listening right now in the cars to hear that word, trauma. There's a different type of traumas. There's a different type of the remedies we can apply, the knowledge, the pills and everything else. But why we don't hear from the man who deals with this on a daily basis? First of all, Anthony, who is Anthony Dahya and why you are the expert in dealing in trauma as a coach?
Yeah, so look, I've lived through trauma all through my life. It started back when I was 5 years old, and I remember it was my parents separated when I was 5 through family interference, and it was generational trauma. So my auntie at the time also, when she was younger, when she was 3, I think she was abandoned by her father, or my grandfather, who came to New Zealand at a particular time. And so when my parents separated at 5, I was then sent to an ashram in India, a boarding school. Mm-hmm. And I kind of, obviously that was the first time at 5 I felt like I was abandoned because my parents had separated. And then at 7, being sent to an ashram, a boarding school, which was literally crossed between army and prison, again, the abandonment kicked in as well. Now, for the next 6 years, I was in that ashram and I didn't see my mum. I saw my mum when I was 21 and I saw my father maybe once a year. So, they say that the age of 0 to 7 is when your formidable years, when you build relationships. Well, I didn't have those relationships at those ages. And so for me, it was quite traumatic. I made up, or I believed that I was rejected. I believed that I was abandoned, and that's how I felt. That's how I felt. Even in the boarding school, the ashram, I didn't feel any love or affection. And so for me, that played out. Then it carried into my teens where growing up with my father and my stepmother, I was quite angry. Going through those abandonment experiences made me feel angry as a teenager.
No, I presume.
And I would fight, I would rebel, and I had low self-esteem, had no confidence in myself. And I remember singing, I was singing and listening to some music, and I was told by my stepmother to put it down, and I said no, and then we ended up in an argument. And long story short is that when my father came home, she told him a whole lot of lies, and basically I got a beating and got told that I was useless. I wouldn't amount to anything. I'd never be a singer in my life. And all through that time, from the age of 15, I was believing that's who I was, that I was useless. I wasn't going to amount to anything. And I tried to cut myself. I tried to kill myself, but I obviously wasn't successful. And it wasn't until I was about 16 or so when I joined the church and became a singer in the church and started taking singing lessons. And I remember years later, my father coming to a concert that I sang at, and he realized that what he had said had made me stronger. And from that day, he was like my biggest supporter. But you can imagine that this trauma played out in my life during my teenage years, but also my adult years, right? So I've been through recently my 24th restructure and first redundancy in my career. And every time that redundancy or restructure would happen, it was like going back to my 7-year-old self and reliving that past 24 times, fourth time redundancy. And I wasn't very good. I didn't have the tools or strategies to be able to regulate myself or to be able manage myself back then. Yeah. So, I mean, I can carry on with more, but that's the short of it, is that it's affected me all through my life, about 40-odd years of living through that trauma.
I'm going to say something. Yeah?
Sorry?
No, you just continue.
Dahya says that, the situation that you went through was definitely traumatic, but holding on to that trauma holding on to that situation is what creates trauma.
I'm gonna say a few things, and as I say, it has nothing to relating to you, because I'm gonna call some names, right? You know what I mean? Okay, the first thing you said, you're 5 years old, and you've been sent into ashram, right? I have no idea what the ashram it is, but I will ask the Holy Grail of the knowledge, Dr. Google, to give me the pictures and videos and everything else. But I want to just make a leap in your life, in a leap of faith, I'll call it. I mean, you're the father of your daughter called Olivia. She's 10 years old, right?
Yes.
When you make the parallel now for all our viewers and listeners who have kids, and I'm 52 years old man, and I can relate to some things, but I want to hear from you. When your daughter, she comes to you, she says, Dad, I want to sing, just a figure of speech, I mean, just metaphorically, right? Whatever she wants to do. Do you acting as your father? Are you going to say, like, Olivia, let me hear, what do you want to do? What's your approach towards your kid right now? Because you faced such a traumatic experience in your life by your parents. How do you acting, and how do you work with your child?
Well, I do the complete opposite of what I went through.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and anything, whether it's singing, dancing, anything that my daughter Olivia wants to do, I'm 100% behind her, and I support her. And I guide her. I mean, only yesterday she was on TikTok doing this scales thing, and at times it didn't sound that great, but at times it did. And I said, instead of saying, "Oh no, that sounds horrible," I said, "No, that's good. You're improving. It's getting better. Let's keep trying. Keep going at it." And so for me, every situation with my daughter is about empowering her. It's about encouraging her. It's about building her confidence. It's about setting her up to be the person that she wants to become, not who I want her to become, who she wants to become.
That's the reason I'm asking, because sorry to interrupt you. See, this is the reason why I wanted people to understand who they want to learn from. You want to learn from people who live this traumatic experience, but yet they have this bundle of joy. In your case, it's your 10-year-old daughter, right? I can say, like, my son is 22 years old, but I still see him as a baby, and I sometimes overacting like he's like a 5 years old, not 22 years old. But that's what I said to people to understand why you should talk to the Anthony. He lived the trauma, like, just to ask you, just tell me yes or no. Would you ever send your kid to your daughter Olivia to some school far away from you?
No, I wouldn't.
That's it. So how do you apply this, your traumatic experience now? You're singing, okay? Those who don't know, I'm going to put in comment section below the Anthony, the resume, so you can see that his bio, what he does, but he sings as well. He's acting, and he's a public speaker. Everything what his father told him, you can't do it, you're never going to do it. So Anthony, he's a living example that it can be done. So thank you, Anthony, for that one. So when you apply your traumatic experience in daily life, what do you see, how we are all dealing from your perspective with the trauma? How the trauma actually affect us? In my case, I said this morning, open the news, everything's just it's a gloom and doom, everything's gonna apocalyptic, I say like, oh my God, I can't watch this news anymore. But in your experience as a professional, what is the trauma on daily basis, even your full restructure, and how we should deal with the trauma?
Yeah, well, look, every human being has been through trauma in their life, right? There is no human being that has ever not been through that. And as I mentioned before, the situation was, as Dr. Gabor Mate said, the situation was traumatic, but how we deal with that situation, and do we hold on to that or not? And so for me, the first step is acceptance of what happened.
Yes.
Right? So I can't change what happened. It was a situation that happened. The second step is being aware of it and then having the acceptance of it. The third step is to then forgive yourself for whatever you felt, the way you've thought, the way you felt about. I never hated my parents. Both my parents are passed on now, but both my mum and dad, they did what they had to do back then. So I accept that, and then I forgive them for whatever, and I forgive myself for staying in that traumatic.
Forgiveness.
Yeah, forgiveness is so important. Forgive yourself for sitting in that trauma, but also forgive others. Until you do that, you're not going to be free from it. Forgiveness is going to set it free, because you're going to be able to let it go. If you don't have the forgiveness and you don't accept it, then you're not going to be able to let it go. So once you've done that, then it's about really going from your mind, because your thoughts are going to constantly come up. And Eckhart Tolle says that your thoughts are like clouds. They come and they pass by. Our thoughts are not real. Whatever meaning we give our thoughts is what we hold on to.
Wow.
Right? And your thoughts then create your feelings, and then you create how you feel determines the actions that you take. So your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions create your current reality. So if you understand that your thoughts create your feelings create your actions, and the combination of those three create your current reality. And if you stay within that traumatic situation, holding on to it, then you're going to continue to create a pattern, or you're going to revolve around in that hamster wheel over and over and over again, like I did for about 40-something years. And it took me 40-something years to come to the realization that it's past, it's gone.
Can I ask you, so interrupt you before I forget that thought, because this is very important for everybody who are now driving in your cars and listening to this podcast. For those who are sitting in front of the YouTube and have nothing else to do, like you want to hear what Anthony has to say and my beautiful, sexy voice. This is the life, the battlefield, and make you laugh. How do we know when is the moment that we are like a hamsters in a wheel? When is the moment you say like, my life is just going in a circle, I do nothing, nothing's happening. How are we going to recognize this moment? Please, how did you recognize this moment? And how would you say to people, okay, stop, breathe, don't go rob the bank, sit at home, save the money for the car?
Yeah, so it's the awareness part, right? We are, so many of us are living an unconscious life where we are not aware of what's going on for us, right? Yes. A lot of us are in blame and anger and guilt and all that, and those are all low vibrational energies that are causing us to stay within that, right? Yes. when you transcend from that, and the way to transcend from that is awareness. Once you've got the awareness that you are doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you're getting the same result. As Einstein said, if you keep doing the same thing and you get the same result, and trying to expect something else is insanity. So we are living in a life of insanity because we think that if I just keep going through this motion of feeling and thinking that this trauma is who I am, and that's it. And that comes down to the different mindsets, the difference between the fixed and the growth mindset. The fixed mindset believes that I'm born this way, this is what happened to me, and nothing can ever change my life. But if you go to the growth mindset, then that's around, I can change this. If I choose to change it, if I take a stand and change it, I can change it. Then the champion mindset, which is what my podcast is
yes. Talk to us.
It's all about really, really going the next level where no matter what comes at me, I'm just going to keep going. So the answer to your question is awareness is the first step. Forgiveness, as I mentioned before. But how do you recognize you're in that pattern? Well, if you keep doing the same thing and you're getting the same result, then you come to the realization. But also, what I would encourage people to do is to every day journal, write down what thoughts and emotions and feelings are coming up for you, and what actions are you taking. And if you start to see a pattern in that journal every day where you can see that the same things are happening over and over and over again, then it's time to accept what's happened, let go of it, forgive yourself and forgive others, and start to live a life that is limitless, right? Live a life that you are not the victim anymore. You are champion in your life, and you are changing your life. Now, in the cognitive behavioral therapy, they call it the 3C method, which is catch your thought, check your thought, change your thought. So first of all, catch your thought and observe. So meditation, deep breathing, meditation, going from your head to your body is quite important, because that's when you're in that meditative state and you're observing what's going on in your body and in your thoughts. At that point, you can start to check your thought and say, is this true? Is this true that I am still imprisoned by this trauma? And if the answer is no, then you change your thought and say, that was in the past, this is in the present moment, I'm okay. And so deep breathing helps to really regulate yourself as well. Because what's happening is your inner child, your child self, child self from 7 years old, is crying out. And there are going to be patterns in my relationships where I feel like someone is abandoning me, and at that point you stop and you observe and you check and you say, is this really true that this person is abandoning me, or is this me making this up? Because remember, our thoughts are not real. It's the meaning we give our thoughts, right?
Yes.
It's the meaning we give our thoughts.
This is very powerful what you said, that 3 C's. I'm going to put in the comment section, guys, below. I will just quote Anthony. I don't know, I don't have no ownership over this one. It's a 3 C's, your thoughts. They are not real, but you can catch them, you can check them, you can change them. So if you are worrying about your thoughts, contact Anthony, and he's going to help you how to catch, check and change thoughts. So I have no ownership over this, what I said. This is the Anthony. He's going to guide you to that process. But I'm going to put in the comment section below that this is very important to learn, because I think that we are suffering more imagination than reality. It's no question asked. Like I was a victim of my own BS. Thoughts. Everything is a bad. I blame everybody, but I could say to myself, I need to change just the way how I act or behave or whatever it is. And I wish I met you before, Anthony. Like it takes a lot of time and reasons why we meet people in our life. And I think that we need to meet always people who's going to bring us down first, and then meet people like yourself who's going to bring us up. So guys, I'm going to put in the comment section below Anthony details. Jump on that link, contact him, and catch, check, and change your thoughts, because it's your imagination. It's not real. Anthony, you mentioned something very, very, very key word. I love this one. I won't talk about this one for the moment. Being abandoned, right? You've been abandoned by your parents. If I'm wrong, please correct me. I'll talk about myself as well. I've been abandoned many times in relationships by my parents, particularly when the war started, and all these things. I just want to ask you, abandonance actually put a lot of burden on a traumatic experience, right? How to deal with this one, because being abandoned, it's like being betrayed, being left alone, like just the person who you trusted more, or even in corporation, like, I don't want to talk about your one. Maybe you can share with us your experience. But I remember 2009 GFC comes and I was made redundant, and I said to myself, I give this corporation everything and anything, and all I got is a check and get FO of the office. And I was like, oh man, this is not fair. I felt abandoned. So Anthony, abandoned, how when we are being abandoned by somebody, how to deal with this one as a part of traumatic experience? Don't tell me forgiveness only.
Yeah, so look, every time, like when we haven't dealt with the unresolved trauma, we haven't healed through that unresolved trauma, and it's so important that if you are going through trauma, that you reach out to someone, reach out to me, because the thing is, there is only so much you can do by yourself. And Einstein also said that, the same thought that created the problem cannot solve the problem, right? So,
interesting. Yeah. Okay,
so
that's a good one. I didn't know.
That created the problem cannot solve the problem, because you're in that rumination, you're in that thought pattern, and you cannot change it. And so it's important to have someone that can guide you, that can give you a new perspective on whatever that trauma is. Now, we often stay stuck because we are not willing to move forward, where it's a familiar place, it's our comfort zone, right? And until we move out of our comfort zone, we cannot become the person that we desire to be. Dr. Joe Dispenza says that to be a different version of yourself, you must go through change first. If you don't change, you cannot be a different person.
Can I give you credit for the moment, just a second? I need to give you credit because I like to people to hear this, what I'm going to say right now. I said at the beginning, I'm going to say some things which you have no control over this. It's me only alone. Number one, the person who is quoting big names, I'm sorry, people with the credibility, people with academics like Einstein, Dr. John Spencer, for me, is on a hierarchy here. Because you didn't quote Jay Shetty, who lied that he was in India learning the guru knowledge, right, and everything else. I am admiring you, Anthony, for this, because you're supporting your statements with the people who are in history created a lot of good things, and they've done a lot of quantitative analysis as Einstein. So congratulations on this one. Thank you for supporting your statements with the facts. That makes you a unique person. Sorry, did I need to remind you? Did you stop? No? Okay, please.
That's all right. Look, one thing I do want to say about Jay Shetty is that he did change my life. Listening to his podcasts did change my life. And how I discovered my purpose was actually listening to Jay Shetty's On Purpose podcast. And him and I have a lot of similarities in the way we grew up. Our families are from the same part of India.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but what I want to get back to was that if you're not willing to change yourself, as Dr. Joe Dispenza says, you cannot become or embody the person that you would desire to become, right? And you will continue to go through that hamster wheel, that revolving. Now, I like to ask the question and say, are you revolving or are you evolving? Because if you're revolving, you're not likely to change. But if you're evolving, then you're going to change. Now, we make on a daily basis, well, every second we are shifting identities. We are learning, we are hearing things, we are making sense of comprehension of things.
Yeah.
And we are shifting our identity every second, every billions of times a day, right? And
yes.
And the thing is, what you focus on is what you become. That saying is so true, because if we continue to focus on the trauma, if we continue to focus on being a victim, and we continue to focus on I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy because I was abandoned, right? I was abandoned. It was terrible. It was horrifying, And also the 24 restructures. Every time I've been through those, every time I've relived my childhood trauma. The 4 redundancies, every time I've relived my childhood trauma. Every time in a relationship where it hasn't gone well, I've relived it. But the fundamental thing I've done, and this journey for me started when I was 26 years old, was that I'm consciously going to make every decision in my life where I am changing myself for me, not for anyone else. I'm changing myself to become a better version of me so that I can be the person that I desire to be in the future. Now, your future self is already there in the quantum. There are versions of us in this quantum universe. And your future self is waiting for you to take action. Now,
you're going to change a lot of lives. I believe this podcast is going to change a lot of lives, honestly, because, I'm not always very quiet during the podcasting and interview. I have a lot of questions. I interrupt you very few times now because I'm very excited. I don't want to forget that thought. But when I'm listening to you, I can see that a lot of people who are sitting now in a car or in a workplace or watching the video, they're going to find themselves in this podcast. My question for you is, I want to just ask you because of my personal curiosity, Anthony. You experienced a trauma on a level, most of kids will not, being abandoned by parents, being sent away from, from home and everything else. Yet, you have a burning passion to help others. Where do you find that energy? And you even now just said, you experienced 4 restructuring in corporations you work, Where do you find that energy to help others? Please, can you share with our audience? Maybe we all have the same energy, but we don't want it. You mentioned comfort zone, you mentioned many other things, but where does Anthony finds energy and passion to help others?
If we were created in the image of God, right, and we were destined for greatness. Each and every one of us is destined for greatness.
Yes.
The question is, do we believe that? Do we have faith in that? Do we believe that we are destined to be great? And I remember 6 years ago sitting in my lounge on New Year's Eve asking God in universe, why am I here on this earth? I was so frustrated. And I was like, why am I here? And my TV lit up. It was dark in the room and the TV lit up. And I saw this vision of me standing on a stage speaking to thousands of people with coaches and mentors on one side and consultants. And on the stage with me were people like Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Tony Robbins, Rob Dial, Dr. Joe Dispenza. All these people were on stage with me. I knew that there was something bigger than who I was. And at that point, I made a decision that I'm not going to live in my hamster wheel. I'm going to keep evolving into that person that I want to be. Now, the thing is, I have come to the conclusion recently, and only in the last few weeks, after 24 restructures and 4 redundancies and feeling abandoned and rejected in the past, what is my purpose? Why am I keep going into corporate world and then getting made redundant? And then I realized that actually the universe or God was showing me that I keep playing small. I keep playing in my comfort zone. And where I'm meant to be is to be helping businesses and individuals being empowered in their business, and helping them navigate these uncertain times to build confidence and resilience and strength, and to strengthen their businesses and strengthen their people, right? So my mission in life is to change this world by working with businesses and people, because every time someone is going through a restructure, they're feeling that abandonment, the rejection, they are feeling unworthy of themselves. They are questioning themselves. Am I good enough? Do I have the skills to be able to do this job or any other job in this market where you've got hundreds of people applying for the same job? Am I worthy of this? And I made a decision. So rather than applying for a job and living on someone else's terms and living a life where they tell me what to do, I decided that I'm going to help people really build that confidence within themselves so they can leave that 9-to-5 job and they can build
you're a legend. You know what you don't like it about you, Anthony? The honesty. You don't make it sounds good. I mean, like most of public speakers, they try to make their good things. But that's like one thing what separates you for the most of public speakers. It is that you live that experience of life, of the trauma, abundance, redundancies, restructures and everything else. And then you come to the conclusion which you now articulating and conveying that message to all of us. If something happening all the time, there must be some message, like you say, why I'm being redundant, you know what I mean? Like, it's not your fault you've been redundant, but you think yourself like, why this almost coming back into a corporate world must be something more, yet you're taking the risk. I want to ask you one very, very intimate question, right? You may no answer because, maybe you don't want to say I'm not psychologist or doctor.
I can answer any question you want.
For every single person over there, but I want to relate this to the man, right? We're all going to face the walls and obstacles sooner or later. This is the podcast about this. And I'm very privileged. I feel very privileged that I can host you, Anthony, because I always going to admire people like yourself who come from ordinary parts of the life. You know what I mean? They're growing and they're learning, evolving, as you say, and they're sharing the knowledge. So we're equipping people with the knowledge. Is it allowed to men to cry?
Sorry, could you repeat that? I didn't quite hear what you said.
Okay. Can the man cry? Is it okay for men to cry?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. When you came into this world, whether you were a boy or a girl or whatever gender you were, the first thing when you came out of your mum's womb was the first thing you did was you cried.
True.
Why is it so bad to cry?
Okay, because that's what my question it is in relation to when we have a traumatic experiences. I know that people, will relate this to the pain, and to channel the pain, it is the cry. But when people cry, particularly men, they say, this is not good enough for the men. Men should not cry. I'm always asking this question every my single guest like yourself, because I want to prove to people that it's okay to show the emotions when you face the obstacles. Now, how do you keep yourself healthy on your mental health and your physical health? What do? You're running the marathons, you're going to the gym. How did you suggest somebody to keep themselves mentally healthy?
Yeah, so one of the things that my father taught me a long time ago was to connect with nature, Mother Earth. And so I'm so blessed that I get to live near a beach. I'm a 10-minute walk to the beach. So every morning when I can, I walk down to the beach for an hour walk, and I just spend time in nature with myself. And sometimes it could be listening to a podcast. And majority of the time I'm listening to a podcast.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do walking meditation. And so I find that going into nature really helps detach from the world and everything that's going on, and to actually connect with yourself. The second thing I do every morning when I wake up is I practice gratefulness. While I'm lying in my bed, eyes closed, and my brain waves are at alpha state, and that is when your subconscious mind is open to reprogramming. As well as at night when you sleep at theta brain waves, that's the best time to also do that as well. So what I do is I'm grateful for everything in my life. The second thing I do is I ground myself. I visualize myself going into the center of the earth and running across this bridge, and then I see the sun coming and burning me off, and then I regenerate into my new self. I go back into my body. The third thing I do is I do what we call segment intending, and it's putting intentions out of what you want to happen during the day. So when you're in a negative state, you're always going, oh, this is going to go wrong, this is going to go wrong. So what you're doing is you're speaking that into your being, into your life. Your words have so much power. The Bible talks about it, says that your words have power. So when you speak something, the way you speak it, the way you language it, creates your reality. Remember, your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions create your reality. So what I do is I put intentions out there, like today, wouldn't it be amazing if I had an amazing podcast interview with Mario? No? Yeah.
That's
so that was one of my intentions this morning.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after this, I've got a fashion shoot for a wellness program that I'm a partner in. So I said, wouldn't it be amazing if I went and modelled and it was an amazing photo shoot, that kind of stuff, right?
You're gonna look good. Look, you're looking good. Like it's like looking schmicky. I mean, even it's like I said to myself when we start rolling, I said, look at Anthony. He's all immaculately prepared. You know what I mean? Like it's because it's a video interview. You know what I mean? Maybe but you're doing something. So can you guide us a little bit now? In what do you offering to the clients? You know what I mean? Let's just say if somebody comes to you or somebody wants your guidance, your services. What are you offering, Anthony?
Yeah. So currently, if you're on LinkedIn or Facebook, I have posted a free 5-day challenge, and it's called Shift Happens, and it's powering through. Shit happens, right? Shit happens.
Okay, I like it. I like it that way. Okay, please.
So get this: when shit happens.
Yes.
If you're in the right frame of mind, shift can happen as well. If you
yes.
Right. So shift happens, and then you're able to power through transitions in your life, whether it's work or whether it's life transitions. So I'm offering a 5-day challenge, which is starting on the 25th of November to the 29th of November, and it's absolutely free. Go and find me on LinkedIn, click on that post, and register for 5 days. And what you're going to learn is what change is about. The meaning of change, the psychology of change, all that sort of stuff. We're going to then also go through a number of different other topics around building confidence, around communication. We're going to talk about also social networking with other people, and also the last step will be around taking action. Right now, if you don't take action, nothing will happen. You've got to take action. So those 5 days are going to set you up for understanding what change is and how you transition through that change. How can you communicate your feelings through that change, and then your emotions, and how can you also build that resilience and confidence to then take action towards a future that you're going to love.
I'm going to put this in the comment section down below, guys, in the description, Anthony, socials, particularly Facebook page and a LinkedIn, so you can go check it. You said 25th to 29th
25th
November.
To the 29th of November.
Yeah,
so that's
and it's so free. Yeah.
That's New Zealand time, 12 o'clock at lunchtime, New Zealand time. Yeah.
Okay, so guys, I'm going to put in the description section, in the comment section as well, the couple links, so go there, use this opportunity. It's a great one. Stop watching negative news, rather go click that link and join to the Anthony, because after all, when you listen to this interview today, and again, Anthony is a very modest guy, and I say he's the coach and he's the mentor. Other ones I'll disagree, because his experience is much more closer to all of us, the family, the childhood and everything else. Plus he's living in New Zealand. He says he's walking on a beach for 1 hour. What did you say? Can I ask again, when is our mind mostly open for the reprogramming? You say something in the morning, or did I heard something like Sigma Alpha, something like, sorry, I can't remember properly. I need to listen again to the podcast, but so, can you just...
When you go to sleep at night, your brain's in theta brainwave, right? And that's when your brain, your subconscious mind is open to suggestions.
Okay.
Right? So that's when you can reprogram your brain. Now, I used to play YouTube or reprogramming all through the night for nine hours.
My God.
Like while I'm sleeping, and as I'm going through my sleep, I would hear these affirmations, and I used to do that. But what I would say is, if you're not used to, if you can't sleep with music, with stuff playing, I would encourage you to write down 3 things that you're grateful for that day before you go to sleep. Every night, write down 3 things that you are grateful for. The other thing I would ask you to do is write down 3 questions that you would like your subconscious mind to help you answer. Right? When you're on that, conscious mind cannot answer the answer because you'll be going ruminating stuff. But the thing is, your subconscious mind will go relentless. It will go and find the answer to whatever question you ask it. And I guarantee you, the next day or that week sometime, the answer is going to come to you. Have you ever thought about something before you went to sleep, and then you've gone to sleep and you wake up the next day and go, got the answer? That's because your theta brainwave allows your subconscious mind to be open. The next cycle is when you wake up in the morning. When you're just waking up, you're in alpha brainwave state, and that brainwave again is open to suggestions, and that's when you do the gratitude and the intentions. Set your intentions for the day.
Yes,
if you do those 2 things every single day, where you give gratitude to God, universe, for whatever you're grateful for, and you set intentions, then things will start to happen in your life. And the other thing I would encourage you to do is every morning go out onto the ground or concrete or the grass or whatever, bare feet, and just stand there for a few minutes, grounding yourself in the sun, and let the sun just drench you. And I guarantee you, when you ground yourself, what happens is that when you ground yourself, you're getting grounded by Mother Earth, right? And that way, all of the things that are going through your body are getting sucked into the earth. And you're
look. I also, like, guys, I'm going to repeat something what Anthony told me, what Mr. Albert Einstein stated, and I'll make a mistake by quoting because I try to capture essence. The thoughts our mind creates, is what our brain creates a problem. It's the same. That same mind cannot solve the problem. Am I right, Anthony? Did I say something? Is that this problem? Okay.
Yeah. So the same thought that created the problem cannot solve the problem.
And that's the reason why, guys, when we create a problem, we need Anthony. Literally, we need Anthony, because after all, he's gonna hear our problems differently than our mind. Now, Anthony, before we wind up, I'd like to read something you sent me in an email. I'm very curious. I just want you to elaborate this one. It's from the Eckhart Tolle, who wrote the book Power Now. He said, "We only ever have the present moment. The past was a present moment, and the future, which doesn't exist yet, will be a present moment." Can you just... It's very profound, very powerful statement. I was sitting on this for the last couple of days before this interview. And again, it's very important for us to understand what is the present moment, what is the future, and what's the past.
Yeah. So a second's gone by, and now it's another second, and another second, and another second. So the moments, so every second is going past, is going into the past, and we're going into the next present moment, right? So just like that, we only ever have the present moment. So this day is all we've got. This time that you are spending is all we've got. And you may have heard people say, stay present, stay in the moment.
Yes.
Right? Put your phone away and stay in the moment, be present with the person. It's so important to stay in the present moment, because when we are looking at the past, we're going into fear because we're worrying about what happened and that's going to happen again and blah, blah, blah. If we go too far forward, then basically we go into anxiety. Now, Tony Robbins says that if you're driving your car, looking in the rearview mirror, what's going to happen, Mario?
What's going to happen? I don't see nothing in front of me, but you just see at the back.
But if you're driving your car looking in the rearview mirror and you're not looking at you're going to crash, right?
Yeah, that's the point. It's like I just see in the back. I don't see nothing forward here, in front of me. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. The thing is, you don't know what's coming around the corner.
Yes.
So all you can focus on is what's in front of you right now, right? So the same way, as like Tony said, you only ever have the present moment. So stay in the present moment. Don't think about the past, because that's going to bring up fear. Don't think about the future, because it's not even here yet. And they say that 97% of things that we worry about never comes true. 97%.
Man, you're just a powerhouse. Seriously, like that, as I said to you during our interview, I love how you're supporting your statements with the facts. You know what I mean? And that's the guarantee. That's the equation, guys. It's gonna help you to win. And I used to be laughed to people who had that versatile knowledge. As the statements, quoting the scientists and everybody else. And now I have the Anthony here from the Champion Mindset. In front of me, in New Zealand, in front of me, who's going to have his photo session in the hour for his wellness program, which is starting on the 25th to 29th of November. I'm going to put in the comment section below, guys. Go on Anthony Facebook page and go on his LinkedIn. Give him love, give him support, and join to his program. You'll be glad you did it. Anthony, before we wind up, I have the one more question. Tell me about podcasting. Why podcasting? Why did you start podcasting?
Yeah, so for years people told me I talk too much, and they were always putting me down. And you need to shut up and you talk too much. And so what happened was the way this podcast came about. When I was going through a restructure last year, before redundancy, there was a lot of people in my team that were feeling unsafe psychologically. And so I created this group called the Champion Mindset Group. And it was to build a support network for people, and so that we could support each other. When I got made redundant, I started my coaching journey, and then 6 months into that journey, I decided that I was sick of people telling me to shut up, and I was going to do it.
I love your honesty, man. I love your honesty. This is it's a hallmark of yours.
I say it how it is, right? Yeah. And the thing is, I started this podcast and I said, well, okay, what can I call it? Champion Mindset Collective. And I said, no one is ever going to tell me to shut up now.
They can make a choice, an option not to listen to you. Ladies and gentlemen, today I had a true privilege. It was an honor to host Anthony from the Champion Mindset Collective. I'm going to put in comment section below in this podcast on YouTube all his links, all his socials. Anthony is running the free wellness program for a couple of days between 25th and 29th of November. Jump in, make the shift, in your life. And that's like, if you really want to change something, Anthony, he is the man to go, because his traumatic experience is really unique, and I think you can relate to this. Anthony, thank you very much for being my guest today on the Life to Battlefield.
You're welcome. And if you listen to the podcast, please share it with your friends, your family, and your workmates. And please subscribe and follow so that we can get it out to the wider world.
I'm going to put all these details of Anthony down. So, guys, give him love and support. Thank you.
Thank you, Mario, for having me on the show.